Sessions and cookies are generally used to store information that persists across requests. As you know, requests in PHP are stateless, but sessions and cookies can be used in addition to other things like databases, caches, files, and so on to retain the state. Difference between the cookies and sessions is that cookies are stored on the client side on user's computer, for example, while sessions are stored on the server. Also, by default, session is destroyed as soon as the browser is closed, while cookies can remain as long as the set expiration date, or until the cookie is deleted. In order to use sessions, we need to start the sessions using session start function. So we can put session start like this, and this should start the sessions. Note that sessions must be started before any output, otherwise you will face some issues like session cannot be started after headers have already been sent warning. So in this example here, we're starting the session after we have echoed something out to the browser, right? So this technically would execute first, meaning it would start printing something to the screen, and then we're trying to start the sessions, which should result in warning. Let's test this out and let's refresh the page. I refresh the page and there are no errors or warnings or anything like that. Everything still works as expected. So why is that? Why don't we see the error or warning? The reason for that is output buffering setting in the PHP configuration. Let's simply comment this out for now, and let's write PHP info here and refresh the page, and let's search for output buffering, and this is set to 4096, and this is in bytes, so it's 4 kilobytes, and I'll explain what this is. So output buffering is a mechanism where instead of sending response to the browser right away, it will buffer it somewhere like in a variable, for example, and will be sent at once. So basically when we're doing echo statement here and then we're doing the session start, it is not printing anything to the screen, it is buffering it or saving it somewhere, and then at the end of the script or until the saved content reaches 4096 bytes or 4 kilobytes, then it starts printing it on the screen. And we can actually test this in an easier way. We can simply echo 1 out here, then we can sleep for 3 seconds and then echo 2 out. Now let's refresh the page, and as you can see, it's waiting for 3 seconds and then it's printing 1 and 2 at the same time. It is not printing 1 first and then sleeping for 3 seconds and then printing 2. It's waiting until the 4 kilobytes of content has been reached or script has ended execution, and then it sends in the response. So by default, output buffering is usually disabled, but in production environments, it will most likely be set to 4096 bytes. Note that in most cases, PHP will still wait for the output to be displayed on the screen until it processes a response, meaning that even if we disabled output buffering, this section right here, it would still wait 3 seconds before it would print 1 and 2. And it would still print 1 and 2 at the same time. And the reason for that is because there are other things that control that as well, including the web server and its configuration, whether it uses compression or not, and so on. Output buffering is always disabled in PHP CLI, and we can test that quickly. Let me comment this out for now. Let's open the terminal and run the same code, and we see that 1 gets printed right away and then waits 3 seconds and then the 2 gets printed, which is not what's happening when we visit the page on the browser. It waits 3 seconds and then prints 1 and 2 at the same time. So I hope this makes sense. So let's bring all this back, and let's actually now disable the output buffering so we can actually see the warning that we need to see when we start the session after echoing something out. So I'm going to open up my PHP init that I have it set up for my Docker container, and then we'll search for output buffering, and we see that it's set to 4096, and we can either set it to off or we can set it to 0. So let's set it to 0, and let's rebuild the container. Let's refresh the page, and it's waiting 3 seconds because we have that sleep statement right here, but we see that we're getting this warning that session cannot be started after headers have already been sent, and that's because of this echo statement right here. Now I know we haven't talked about the headers yet, which we'll talk about later in the course, but basically what this error means is that whenever PHP encounters any content, or in other words, whenever it receives the first output, whether it's through print statement or an echo statement, or it's just HTML elements, or even it's just an empty space that's not enclosed within the PHP tags, it is going to basically attempt to send the headers, and headers are included with the response that server sends. Once headers are sent, you can no longer send any further headers. Session start and few other functions modify the headers, and therefore it causes this issue. We'll talk more about headers later in the course, so don't worry about it now. The reason I brought this up and I wanted to discuss the output buffering along with these errors is because it's It's an important topic, and I've also seen a few articles and tutorials where the session is started within the HTML body tag to showcase what session is. And while they don't receive any errors or warnings because of the output buffering setting, it is still not the right way. So to avoid any potential issues regardless of what the buffering configuration is set to, it's best to start sessions before any output. And we can easily fix this in our application because all of our requests go through this public index.php, and we're rendering our pages from this section right here. Nothing gets rendered before that. So we can simply move this session start all the way on the top or before this echo statement, and this error will be gone. Let's remove this sleep from here. Let's refresh the page, and sure enough, the warning is gone. But probably it's better to move it all the way up somewhere here, and let's refresh the page. Everything is still working. This is actually one of the reasons why we don't put PHP closing tags at the end of the PHP script if the file contains only PHP code in it, because that could also trigger this error. And I can show you that very easily. Let's move this session start right below the router, and let's refresh the page. Everything is normal, but if we go to router and we add this PHP closing tag and we add some space after and we refresh the page, we're back to the same error. That's because we have this space right here. Alright, so let's actually talk about sessions now. When session is started, it will create a unique session ID and it will write it into a cookie, and the session ID cookie will be sent on every request after. Let's open the developer tools here and let's switch over to the application, and within the cookie section right here, within the localhost port 8000, because that's where our application is running at, we see that there is a cookie set here that is called PHP session ID and the value, which is the actual session ID. Now let's delete this, refresh the page, and it again creates this cookie but with a different ID this time. That's because we're starting the session, and every time we start the session it will create a new session ID if it doesn't exist yet. If I refresh now and keep refreshing, the session ID remains the same. Now this cookie will be passed on every further request so that the proper session data that is associated with that session ID can be looked up. For example, if we switch over to the network tab and we inspect the get request here and we switch to the cookies tab, we see that this session ID was sent. Doesn't matter what page we visit, even if we go to invoices for example and inspect that request, we see that it still sends the same cookie with the same session ID. Now let's set a simple counter so we can be sure that it's actually persisting the sessions across the requests. We're going to set the counter in our home class, and we can use the session superglobal to set access and update session data. So we can do session count equals to session count plus 1, and this might not be set, right? So we can simply check this right here, and if it's not set, then we can just put 0 in here so we start off with 1. And let's var dump the session within the index.php. So right after we resolve the route here, we can simply var dump the contents of the session and see what we have. So we refresh the page, we have an empty array because we haven't visited the home page yet, because we're setting the count on the home page. So we keep on refreshing, it's still empty. If we go to the home page, we see that now it's set to 1. If we refresh, set to 2, keep refreshing, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. Now no matter what page we visit, we have access to this session. So we can take this var dump and put it within the invoices index. Let's go to /invoices, and we see that we still have 7. And now it's not going to increment because we're incrementing on the home page. Now if we delete the cookie from here and we refresh, the session is gone and we're left with an empty array. We can visit the home page again and then go back to the invoices, and we see that now it's set to 1. We can also unset a specific session using the unset function, so we can simply unset it within the invoice index method here. So we can do unset session count, and let's switch over to index.php and var dump the session here so we can see on every request what the session contents are. Let's go to the home page, and session is set to 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's visit invoices page, and session has been removed. If we go back to the home page, it will be set back to 1, and so on. There are also functions like session unset and session destroy, but you should really just clean up sessions using the session superglobal the same way we just did it right here using the unset function. Alright, let's move on to cookies. A cookie is just a file that is stored on the device like user's computer, as mentioned before. Once cookie is created, then each request back to the server will include the cookies so server can access them, and we saw that in in action when we were talking about the sessions. There are many use cases for cookies. They can be used for session management, can be used for tracking, targeted ads, and so on. They can also be used to store information to enhance the user's experience on the website. We can use a setCookie function to create the cookie and then verify it in the inspect element the same way we did it before to make sure that it was created. So let's create a cookie within the index method of the home class. So when we visit the home page, it's going to create this cookie. So we can call setCookie, and let's go over the arguments here. The first argument is the name of the cookie. We can call this whatever we want. I'm going to call this username for now. The second argument is the value of the cookie. So we can put geo for now. The third argument is expire time, which is just the number of seconds until cookie expires. And after this time, the cookie will simply be deleted. So we can use the current timestamp and add 60 seconds, for example, and that just means that this cookie will be expired in 60 seconds. Let's actually add 10 seconds so that we can test this out. The fourth argument is the path, which determines for which directories the cookie will be valid. The next argument is the domain, which is used to set on which domain or subdomain should this cookie be available on. For example, if you set it to the top level domain, something like mysite.com, then the cookie will be available to that domain as well as any subdomains of it. We're not going to set that for now. The next parameter is the secure parameter, which determines whether cookie should be sent only over a secure HTTPS connection or not. So we're going to set this to false for now, which is the default. And the last argument is HTTP only, which means that if it's set to true, the cookie can only be accessed via HTTP protocol and cannot be accessed by client-side code like JavaScript, for example. For now, we're going to ignore it and set it to false, which is also the default. So we can technically get rid of all this since we don't need to set it. As of PHP 7.3, you could also pass an associative array of options instead of specifying each argument right after the value of the cookie. So instead of passing in this, we can simply pass in an array of options, and then we can specify the keys here. And the keys are expires, path, domain, secure, HTTP only, and same site. But we won't use that for now. So let's bring back the expiration time here, and let's open the DevTools here and refresh the page. And sure enough, we see that username with the value geo has been created. Now let's visit the other page like invoices, for example, and we see that the cookie is still there. Now let's wait 10 seconds because that's what we set the expiration time to. And after 10 seconds, once we refresh, this cookie should be gone. So if I refresh now, we see that the cookie is gone. Let's set a higher expiration time, so we can set it to a day, and we can get day by multiplying 24 by 60 minutes and by 60 seconds. Now if we go back to the home page, we see that the cookie has been created and it will be available for 24 hours unless somebody deletes this cookie or we remove it. The cookies must be set before any output on the screen. So for example, if we echo something out here and we refresh the page, we're going to get this warning that cannot modify header information, headers already sent. And the solution of this is the same, to set the cookies before any output. And this is actually one of the use cases of the buffering. It makes sure that even if you echo something out before set cookie, it doesn't give you this warning. So let's actually revert back on our PHP INI and set it to 496, and let's rebuild the container. Let's close that out. Let's refresh the page, and the warning is gone. We can access the cookies using the cookie superglobal. So if we go to the index.php and instead of var dumping session, let's var dump cookie and see what the content of it is. So we refresh the page and we see that we have the PHP session ID as one of the items, and then we have the username as the other item. We can delete the cookie by setting the expire time in the past. So if we wanted to delete it on the invoices index page, for example, we could simply copy the set cookie statement from here and paste it here. We can simply subtract it, and this is going to set the time in the past. And if we refresh the page, the cookie is still set on the home page, but the moment we visit the invoices page, the cookie is now gone, but it's still printing in the cookie superglobal. That's because initially it is set in the cookie superglobal, but if I refresh it again or on any subsequent request, it's not going to be there. So if I refresh the page, it's gone from the cookie superglobal as well. One thing you should know is that you should not store sensitive information in the cookies because it can be easily accessed by the client, just like we did right here by simply opening the DevTools. Also, the user can be tricked or hacked that could expose their cookies, and you don't want to have that sensitive information stored in the cookies that a potential hacker can get access to. In some cases though, you do want to or need to store some information that might be somewhat sensitive, in which case you would want to make sure that it's properly encrypted or hashed, and we'll talk about hashing and encryption later in the course. We'll touch cookies and sessions more as we progress through the third section of the course, especially once we're going to be working with authentication. We will most likely be using Symfony components along with some other packages to work on our application. So this is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was useful, and in the next lesson we'll talk about uploading files in PHP. If you enjoy my content, please give my videos thumbs up, post questions or feedback in the comments, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.